Alright guys, going to do a quick demonstration with the turbo pan, and since it's the end of the bucket, I'll also at the end of the video demonstrate the hex pan, which isn't necessarily available. They don't make it anymore. Some stores still have some in stock, but I'll explain why I like the hex pan as my finishing pan and why I don't use the round pans very much anymore because of these turbo pan and the hex pan. We're on the South Platte River at Big Bend down in Thornton, north of Denver. I'm at the beginning of the inside sandbar on the east side of the creek, of the river, excuse me. There's my brother down there running his gold wheel. I was digging right over here behind a concrete slab. It was actually a bigger concrete slab than I was expecting, and so far the gold has looked pretty decent behind it. Decent sized little chunks for the South Platte. I'm going to go ahead and fill this sucker up. Okay, maybe I have a little too much to fill it up. Turbo pan can handle quite a bit of material. That might be too much, but oh well. Camera glasses on more securely so they don't wobble for you guys as much. Give the center a little swirl to break up the center. Start with the washing machine motion. Do a longer stride of a washing machine motion. And then we can start doing tight swirls, having most of the material run out the front where the ripples are. Get that material moving in a counterclockwise direction. Do a little bit of throwing in an oval a little bit. Just a little bit. Get most of that material coming off those ripples in the front. Now that we got it kind of worked down a little bit, we can start with the bigger swirls. These bigger swirls is where the material really gets pumped out faster. You want to sometimes be careful with the bigger swirls because you can still kick gold out, although the gold tends to hide in these ripples like a sluice. Turbo pan's basically a sluice in a pan. Let's make sure all that stuff gets brought into the central trap by going clockwise and bringing all that material out of the ripples into the center. I like also using the turbo pan almost like a washing board as a classifier. You get some of the big rocks washed off and make sure the gold gets trapped down as you try to wash them. Another helpful tip for the turbo pan compared to regular panning. Do a little side to side washing and get some of this lighter stuff to the end. One thing I like about the turbo pan is I could pan off just the end. Really get rid of some of this other material fairly easily. Especially when you're working with fine gold, the turbo pan, it's really hard to beat the turbo pan as far as pans go, trying to do it fast. I'm not a big fan of the gold claw and some of the other quote-unquote speed or efficient pans. They don't tend to hold as much material as this full-size turbo pan does. And this turbo pan's just, as long as you have a little bit of wiggle room to twirl this in a pool at least, I find that it works a lot better. Sometimes the gold claw in some of those pans can fit inside a bucket or a smaller bin better than this. So that's one thing they got, but they don't hold as much material, and I don't think they work as fast while still catching the fine gold from what I've seen. I don't own a gold claw, but I've seen plenty of demonstrations. And I've seen a couple people use them, and checked their tailings and found that they were losing a fair amount of gold, whereas compared to when I check my own tailings on the turbo pan, I find that the turbo pan is really good at catching even some of the finer gold, and there's usually not much that I eject out unless I'm going real fast, or if I'm dealing with gold that's locked into really pasty clays and that kind of thing, and I don't break them up sufficiently, then I'll lose some out of here. But that's going to happen with the gold claw as well. So good thing about the turbo pan, it's nice wide shallow pan, but you use it halfway like a plate, halfway like a pan, and you can get a lot of that lighter material that's easier to wash off towards the end here and really get it refined. When I get it down about that far, sometimes even before I get that far, I'll go over to a refining pan. And this is the total of a one full bucket. Filled that large bucket to the tippy top. It's kind of a large bucket too, so it's probably just a touch more volume than a regular bucket, just by a smidge. Now with the hex pan, I like it because I can get the gold to come down to a center point, either on the back side. It has light ripples and then real aggressive ripples here, and I can really refine it well by getting everything down into this corner here. And the material stays in kind of a corner ripple, which is a little different than a round pan. And I just have a little tiny, I could do this in a really tiny stream or almost no water at all, or a small bin. A little easier than a round pan that can. A round pan will tend to swirl and swish around a lot as you let water come in and out, but this, you can just get it down to a kind of fine point. See some bigger garnets coming off there. Shake it back. And even when you have a lot of black sand like you do here in the South Platte, you can really start to shed off a lot of the lighter versions of it and keep that gold sunk down into that corner ripple. And that's usually how far I go. If I'm just checking, if I'm really trying to refine it down, I can go further. Got one garnet, or no, it's an iron piece, hematite piece. Turn away from the sun here, away from the glare. Hopefully that glare wasn't hitting you guys in the camera the whole time. Dump out a little bit of water. And let's see what we can uncover here. Another reason I like this hex pan for a refining pan is the wide base allows you to wash down material quite a bit. You can separate it, get the stuff you've already washed down into a corner, rewash this stuff into a corner if you start seeing some gold pieces exposed like I was there. There's a decent size for South Platte gold next to another piece. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. You should be able to. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces gold showing up already. And I'm kind of a meticulous panner. I don't go too fast most of the time. Especially when I'm testing, I'm trying to capture everything and see what a place really has, whether it's how much of it's fine, how much of it's coarser gold. And so I'm a meticulous panner. Another reason why I went with the turbo pan, because I was taking too long with a regular pan and it just strained my lower back and stuff. And once I found the turbo pan, it really helped things out. And then for this refining part, this hex pan works good too. I wish they still made it. I guess it was kind of too weird for some people and it wasn't popular enough, not intuitive for people, so not a fan favorite of a lot of people out there, but it's definitely my favorite refining pan I've ever used. So you can see those gold pieces. You can see a lot of times the gold will stick up in that corner, especially if I haven't shooken it out of the corner. And then you could get rid of your black sand that you know doesn't have any gold because you were watching for the gold not to wash down. You can just wash it right out of there. Get a little water back in there.